Beautiful spicy ladies, welcome back to the channel. From situationship to commitment, how to stop wasting time on mixed signals. We've all been there, those blurry relationships where texts keep you guessing, dates feel like maybe, and your heart stuck in what are we. I've lived it, chasing vague connections that drain my time and spirit, until I learned how to shift from that fog to clarity and commitment. These 5 steps, pulled from my own messy journey and years of coaching women to find love that's real, are your roadmap to stop settling and start building something solid. So grab a tea, settle in, and let's talk heart to heart, like we're untangling this over coffee. But before I give you these signs today, let me request you spicy ladies to hit that subscribe button. If you love what I do, I bless your heart. Number 1, see the fog. What if you're stuck in a situationship? Not because he's sending mixed signals, but because you haven't stopped to name what's really going on. I want to take you back to a stretch of my life with Jake, a guy who swept into my world in my early 30s, all charm and electric thrills. We'd been caught in this hazy dance for months. Late-night texts that kept me up, spontaneous dates that felt like adventures, a rhythm that was intoxicating but unsteady. I'd tell myself, it's fun, brushing off the quiet ache in my chest, that nagging whisper asking, where's this going? But one night, alone in my apartment with my phone dark and the silence loud, I stopped drifting. I sat with that ache, looked at the haze of our thing, and asked, what is this? The fog cleared and I saw it, a situationship, thrilling but vague, and that truth was the first step out of the drift. That night with Jake, it's the spark of this first step, see the fog. This is about self-reflection, about daring to pause and name the reality of your connection. And it's significant because clarity is the blade that cuts through mixed signals, setting the stage for intimacy that's real, not imagined. In my younger days, I'd float through relationships like Jake's, texts that buzzed my phone, dates that sparkled but never solidified, calling it love when it was just excitement. He was thrilling, grinning over dive bar beers, planning last-minute escapes, but vague, no plans beyond the next hangout, no depth to hold on to. I'd shrug, it's fine. Ignoring the nights I'd wait for a text that didn't come, the mornings I'd wonder why fun felt so hollow. That night, though, I didn't shrug. I asked, is this enough? And the answer stung. No depth, no future, just a haze I'd let blur my heart. It wasn't a grand epiphany, just a quiet truth, but it shifted everything. Let me weave this deeper with a story from someone I coached, Sarah, a woman who came to me at 32, when her love life felt like a maze of maybes. She'd been seeing a guy for nearly a year, weekend brunches, flirty texts, but it was undefined, a thing she couldn't pin down. He's great, she'd say, her voice bright but strained, like she was trying to convince herself. One evening, after he'd dodged her, what are we? With a vague, let's just enjoy, she sat alone, her coffee cold, and that ache she'd ignored grew loud. What's here? She asked herself, and the fog lifted. No commitment, no clarity, just a situationship she'd been drifting in. She told me later, I'd called it love, but it was limbo, her eyes steady with the weight of naming it. That moment wasn't easy. It showed her the truth, but it gave her power, a first step toward something real. This step, it's gentle but seismic, a moment where you stop floating and start seeing. After 30, you've loved, lost, maybe settled a few times, and those mixed signals, hot one day, cold the next, can keep you stuck, wasting time on hope that's not grounded. With Jake, I'd drift. It's fun, I'd tell friends, ignoring the days I'd feel small, waiting for him to define us. But asking, what's here? Cut through. No trust because he'd vanish when I needed him. No future because someday stayed a dream. Sarah felt it too. I'd pretend it was enough, she'd say, but it wasn't. It's self-reflection in motion. Ask, what's this? A fling, a maybe, a situationship? And let the truth rise. For me, it was scribbling in a journal. I want real, not haze. Raw and honest. For Sarah, it was that coffee-stained night, whispering, this isn't it. Clarity sparks when you name it. Emotional intimacy starts right there, with you seeing the truth of where you stand. So, how do you make this yours? It's not hard, but it takes a quiet moment. Pause, feel that ache, ask, what's here? Write it if you need to. He's here, but not really, or I'm waiting, not growing. I started after Jake. Nights when I'd feel that drift, I'd sit, name it. This is vague. I coached Emily, stuck with a guy who'd charm then fade, she'd ask, is this enough? And see, no commitment. That naming, it's your truth, the root of intimacy he'll feel when you act on it. You can't build commitment on fog, but you can on clarity. But here's the twist, though. Seeing the fog isn't all cozy. It stirs fear, that voice whispering. What if it's nothing? What if I'm alone? It's daunting, naming a situationship for what it is, but it solves that drift where you waste time, pouring your heart into a maybe. With Sarah, that clarity shook her. What if he walks? But it freed her too. What if seeing the truth means valuing yourself first, though? What if your heart needs your own respect before his? That's where we're headed next. Our next step, claiming your worth, where clarity turns into strength. Number 2, claim your worth. Can you value your heart, its desires, its needs, above the mixed signals he sends, above the maybe that keeps you guessing? I learned this one with Ryan, a man who slipped into my life in my early 30s, when I was still untangling what love could be. We'd been in this situationship for months, sweet moments, like cuddling on his couch or laughing over late-night takeout, that felt warm but fragile. He'd be there one day, all charm and affection, then flaky the next, ghosting my texts or canceling plans with a vague busy. I'd shrink to fit his rhythm, softening my wants. Don't ask for more, I'd think, afraid that needing clarity would push him away. But one afternoon, sitting alone with that familiar ache, I'd had enough of shrinking. I stood tall, looked in the mirror, and said, I deserve more. When I told him, my voice steady, he didn't run. He looked at me, nodded. You're right. And for the first time, he noticed the me I'd been hiding. That afternoon with Ryan, it's the soul of this second step, claim your worth. This is about personal growth, about recognizing your value and refusing to let it be dimmed by someone else's indecision. And it's mind-bending because claiming your worth doesn't just lift you. It shifts the entire dynamic of a relationship. With Ryan, he was sweet. Those cuddles were like little promises, but his flakiness stung and I'd shrink, making excuses. He's just busy, I'd say, thinking my worth depended on his attention. I'd mute my needs. Don't seem clingy, I'd whisper, afraid my heart was too much. That day, though, I stopped. I claimed it. I deserve more. Not to change him, but to honor me, to say my time, my heart mattered. When I spoke it, his "you're right" wasn't just agreement. It was respect, a shift because I'd stood tall, and that clarity opened a path we hadn't walked before. Let me weave this deeper with a story from someone I coached. Mia, a woman who came to me at 34, when her situationship felt like a treadmill she couldn't step off. Her guy was magnetic, dinners, witty texts, but he'd drift, showing up when it suited him, leaving her waiting for more. He's worth it, she'd say, her voice soft with the hope she clung to, but she'd dim herself, skipping her hobbies, quieting her dreams to keep him close. One session, I asked, what if you're worth more? She paused. He'll leave, but she tried. She started living again, painting, laughing with friends, saying, I'm enough. When she told him, I need a real connection, he didn't drift, he stayed, saying, I see you now. She told me later. I stopped begging, and he stepped up, her eyes bright with the realization that her worth didn't push him away. It pulled him in. This step, it's quiet but seismic, a shift that turns chasing into choosing. After 30, you've carried enough doubts, heartbreaks, and it's easy to shrink, to think love means settling for less. But claiming your worth rewrites that. With Ryan, I'd dim. Don't ask, I'd think, until I deserve more rose up clear and true. Mia felt it too. I'd shrink for him, she'd say, but standing tall changed us. It's personal growth in motion. You be you, say, I'm enough. And trust deepens because you're clear, not clinging. He doesn't feel chased. He's drawn to a you that shines, a heart he respects because you do. So, how do you make this yours? It's not hard, but it takes courage. Feel that ache, then claim it. I deserve clarity, or my heart's worth it. I started after Ryan. Moments when I'd feel small, I'd pause, say, I'm enough. I coached Emily, stuck with a guy who'd flake. She'd shrink, then stood. I need real. He'd shift, I'll try. That worth, it's your power, a pull he feels. I've seen it with Sarah, her guy distant, she claimed. I'm worth more. And he stayed. I see you. Emotional intimacy grows when you're clear. He's not dodging a plea. He's meeting a heart that knows its value. Here's the catch, though. Worth isn't risk-free. It opens you to rejection, that fear of what if he walks. It's scary, valuing your heart above his signals, but it fixes that chase where you beg, where you waste time on less than you deserve. With Mia, her stand shook her. What if he doesn't care? But it held him instead. What if he needs to hear that worth to meet it, though? What if your clarity needs a voice to spark his? That's where we're headed next. Our next step, speaking your truth, where your worth finds words to clear the haze. Number 3. Speak your truth. Can words, clear, honest, spoken from your heart, cut through the haze of a situationship, turning mixed signals into a path toward commitment? I learned this one with Nate, a man who drifted into my life in my 30s, when I was tired of guessing games in love. We'd been in this undefined space for months, cozy nights filled with laughs, his easy presence like a warm blanket, but always vague, no edges to hold on to. I'd hint, "Are we something? Or what's this?" Tossing out soft questions, hoping he'd pick up the thread, but I'd get nothing, just a smile or "we're good," leaving me stuck in a fog of my own making. One evening, though, I couldn't hint anymore. I sat across from him, my heart steady, and said, "I need clarity. I need us to find." My voice was calm but firm, no pleading, just truth, and he didn't dodge. He looked at me, eyes clear, and said, "I'm in." And that moment didn't just clear the haze, it built a bridge between us. That evening with Nate, it's the essence of this third step. Speak your truth. This is about trust and communication, about having the courage to voice your needs with boldness and clarity, and it's relevant because truth doesn't just demand, it invites commitment, creating a space where intimacy can take root. With Nate, he was cozy. Those laughs were easy, his warmth a comfort, but vague, a surface I'd skate on, afraid to break through. I'd drop hints. "Where's this going?" But they'd vanish, leaving me guessing, my heart heavy with unspoken wants. That night, though, I let go of hints. I spoke. "I need us to find." Not loud, not accusing, just real, like laying my heart bare. His "I'm in" wasn't forced. It came because my clarity gave him a choice, a chance to step up. It wasn't about pushing him. It was about trusting my voice to carry my truth, and that boldness deepened our connection in a way silence never could. Let me weave this deeper with a story from someone I coached. Sarah, a woman who came to me at 35, when her situationship felt like a loop of hope and frustration. Her guy was charming, dates at quaint restaurants, late-night calls, but he'd stall, dodging any talk of us with a casual "let's see." She'd hint, "Are we serious?" and get vague nods, her heart sinking with each non-answer. "He'll come around," she'd say, her voice tight with the hope she clung to, but she was tired of guessing. One night, after another "let's see," she felt that ache sharpen. She didn't plead, she sat him down, her voice steady. "I want real. I need to know where we stand. No drama, just a bold, clear truth." He paused, then leaned in. "Okay, I'm ready." She told me later. I stopped hinting, and he chose me, her eyes wide with the realization that her truth didn't scare him, it called him forward. This step, it's simple but transformative, a moment where your voice becomes a beacon, cutting through the fog of mixed signals. After 30, you've learned that hints, those subtle nudges, don't build commitment, they scatter, leaving you stuck. With Nate, my hints were like whispers in the wind, lost, ignored, until "I need clarity" stood firm, a light he couldn't miss. Sarah felt it too. "I'd tiptoe," she'd say, "but I want real" woke us. It's trust and communication in motion. You speak. "I need us" clear, bold but calm, and intimacy grows because you're honest, not hidden. He doesn't hear a fight. He hears your heart, steady and true, and that's what pulls him to meet you, not retreat. So, how do you make this yours? It's not easy, but it's straightforward. Feel your truth, then speak. "I need clarity," or "I want us to find." I started after Nate. Moments when I'd feel that fog, I'd pause, then say, "I need real." I coached Emily, whose guy danced around commitment. She'd hint, then spoke, "I need us clear." He'd nod, "I'm here." That truth, it's your strength, a call he feels. I've seen it with Lisa, her guy vague, she said, "I want commitment," and he stayed, "I'm ready." Emotional intimacy grows when you're bold. He's not dodging a demand. He's drawn to a heart that's clear, a you that's unafraid. But here's the wonder, though. Truth isn't always steady. It can shake, stirring fear. What if he says no? It's vulnerable, laying your needs bare, but it solves that silence where you guess, where you waste time on maybes. With Sarah, her truth scared her. What if he walks? But it held him instead. What if he doesn't answer right away, though? What if his heart needs time to catch up? That's where we're headed next. Our next step, holding firm, where your truth meets his pause with strength. Number 4, hold firm. What if standing steady, rooting yourself in what you need and refusing to bend, could spark the commitment you've been chasing in a situationship? I learned this one with Tom, a man who slipped into my life in my mid-30s, when I was done with the haze of mixed signals. We'd been in this undefined space for months, casual hangouts, easy banter, moments that felt close but never solid. He'd be warm one day, distant the next, and I'd bend, twisting myself to keep it smooth, saying, "It's fine," even as my heart ached for more. I'd push, "Are we something?" Then back off, afraid to lose him. But one evening, after another vague "let's chill," I couldn't bend anymore. I stood tall, looked him in the eye, and said, "I need more, this isn't enough." My voice was calm but unshakable, and he didn't walk away. He shifted, his eyes meeting mine. "Okay, let's talk." And that firmness didn't break us, it grounded us. That evening with Tom, it's the core of this fourth step: hold firm. This is about intimacy through strength, about trusting your worth enough to stand steady in your needs. And it's significant because firmness doesn't just set a boundary, it builds respect, both for yourself and from him. With Tom, he was casual. "We're good" was his refrain, a breezy dodge that kept us floating in limbo. I'd ache, nights wondering why good felt so thin, but I'd bend, maybe he's right, letting my heart shrink to fit his ease. That night, though, I stopped. I held. This isn't enough. Not angry, not pleading, just clear, a line drawn from my core. His shift, "Let's talk," wasn't a victory, it was a mirror, reflecting a me he respected because I hadn't wavered. It wasn't about forcing him, it was about standing in my truth, and that strength opened a door to something deeper. Let me weave this deeper with a story from someone I coached. Lisa, a woman who came to me at 33, when her situationship felt like a seesaw of hope and doubt. Her guy was all charm, dates when he felt like it, sweet words that faded fast, but he'd waver. "I'm not ready," whenever she sought clarity. "He'll get there," she'd say, her voice soft with the hope she held, but she'd bend, settling for his half-in. One day, after another, not yet, she felt that ache turn sharp. She didn't push or plead, she stood, her voice firm. "I'm worth it, I need commitment." No yelling, just a steady truth. He paused, then nodded. "You're right, I'm in." She told me later. I stopped settling, and he chose me. Her eyes bright with the realization that her firmness didn't push him away, it pulled him closer. This step, it's quiet but powerful, a shift that turns wobbling into standing. After 30, you've seen enough to know situationships thrive on bending. "It's fine," you say, shrinking to fit his maybe, but firmness cuts through, rooting you in your value. With Tom, I'd let "we're good" cover my ache, days of feeling small, until "I need more" stood solid, a truth he couldn't ignore. Lisa felt it too. "I'd bend for him," she'd say, "but I'm worth it" changed us. It's intimacy through strength. You stand. "I need real." And communication thrives because you're steady, not swaying. He doesn't hear a nag. He values your spine, your clarity, and that's what draws him to commit, not drift. So, how do you make this yours? It's not easy, but it's simple. Feel that wobble, then stand. "This isn't enough," or "I deserve clarity." I started after Tom. Moments when I'd feel that bend, I'd pause, say, "I need more." I coached Emily, stuck with a guy who'd coast, she'd cave, then stood. "I need us real." He shifted, "I'm here." That firmness, it's your power, a call he feels. I've seen it with Sarah, her guy vague, she held. "I'm worth commitment." And he stayed, "I see you." Emotional intimacy grows when you're steady. He respects a heart that won't shrink, a you that's clear and strong. Here's the paradox though. Firmness isn't safe. It risks pushback, that moment he might say, "I can't." It's scary, standing when you've bent so long, but it fixes that trap where you settle, where you waste time on less than your heart deserves. With Lisa, her stand shook her. What if he leaves? But it held him instead. What if that firmness isn't the end, though? What if it's part of a rhythm, a dance you both step into? That's where we're headed next. Our last step, building the bond, where your strength weaves a commitment that lasts. Number 5, build the bond. Can you weave a commitment that lasts? Not just a fleeting promise, but a bond that holds through the everyday, the doubts, the moments when ambiguity tries to creep back in? I learned this one with James, a man who came into my life in my late 30s, when I was learning to build love with intention, not just hope. We'd moved through the fog of a situationship, naming it, claiming my worth, speaking my truth, holding firm, and we'd reached a place of clarity, a spark of commitment that felt alive. But I knew that spark could fade if we didn't nurture it, so one quiet evening, over a shared pizza, I looked at him and asked, "Still us? Are we building this?" It wasn't a demand, just a gentle nudge, a thread I wanted to keep weaving. He smiled, his voice steady. "Yeah, we're us." And with every check-in, every small moment, we grew, weaving a bond that didn't just endure, it deepened. That evening with James, it's the heartbeat of this fifth step, build the bond. This is about trust and process, about believing that intimacy and commitment aren't a single moment, but a living connection you cultivate over time. And it's relevant because love after 30 isn't about quick fixes. It's about tending a relationship that grows stronger with care. With James, our early clarity, I need us to find, was a breakthrough, but breakthroughs don't hold without work. I'd check in. What's ours? Over coffee, or how's our heart? On a walk, not to nag, but to keep our connection alive. He'd lean in. I love this us. And those moments weren't dramatic. They were stitches, small but vital, weaving trust, depth, a bond that strengthened because we kept showing up. It wasn't about rushing to a finish line. It was about building, step by steady step. Let me weave this deeper with a story from someone I coached. Mia, a woman who came to me at 34, when her situationship turned relationship felt fragile, like it could slip back into vagueness. Her guy was warm, cozy nights, soft promises, but he'd waver, pulling back when life got heavy, and their spark of commitment felt unsteady. They'd spoken truths. I want real, and stood firm, but weeks passed and old patterns lingered. It's drifting, she'd say, her voice heavy with fear that their progress wouldn't last. I asked, what if you kept weaving it? She hesitated. He'll think I'm pushing, but she tried. She'd nudge soft and light. Are we here? Over breakfast, or still us? On a call. He'd pause, then stay. Yes, I'm here. Over time, he'd share. Work's tough, but you're my home. And their bond grew, not from one talk, but from her tending it. She told me, I stopped waiting for it to stick. I built it. Her eyes shining with the truth that commitment grows in the weave, not the wish. This step, it's gentle but profound, a rhythm that turns clarity into connection. After 30, you know love isn't a fairy tale. It's a dance, a shared effort you both choose. With James, I'd nudge, where's our heart? And he'd share, right here, his voice warm, and we'd deepen, not drift. Mia felt it too. I'd hope he'd lead, she'd say, but weaving held us. It's trust and process, you keep it alive. How's our US? And rest and growth, not forcing but fostering. Communication thrives in this dance. He doesn't feel cornered. He stays for the bond, the us you're crafting together, heartbeat by heartbeat. So, how do you make this yours? It's not complex, but it takes care. After your truth, don't let it fade. Check in, gentle and real. Still us, or where's our heart? I started after James. Moments when I'd sense drift, I'd ask, are we here? And we'd talk easy and true. I coached Emily, whose guy grew quiet, she'd nudge. Still our path? Over tea, and he'd open, I'm in. That weaving, it's intimacy growing, a pull he feels. I've seen it with Sarah, her guy wavering, she'd say, still our bond. And he'd stay, always. Emotional intimacy deepens in the weave. He's not dragged. He's drawn to a commitment that's alive, a dance you both step into. Here's the beauty, though. This weave isn't just upkeep. It heals ambiguity, those moments when vagueness creeps back or life pulls you apart. With Mia, her nudges didn't just hold them, they grew them, a commitment that felt like home. It's the thread of all 5 steps, seeing the fog, claiming your worth, speaking your truth, holding firm. And now this, a tapestry of love that holds you close. Let's wrap it up with a final thought, a bow on this journey we've shared. So there's your 5. See the fog, claim your worth, speak your truth, hold firm, build the bond. I met a couple once, 30 years committed. We kept talking, they said. Reflect. What's your next step? Start where you are. Thanks for being here. Hit like if this resonated, it spreads the clarity. Subscribe if you're in and comment. What's your situationship struggle? Stay true to yourself. To all the spicy ladies make life beautiful, see you in our next video.